governments. In the previous video, we were talking about expenditure by the households and firms. Okay, so today we're going to add on another component to that, which is the government spending. Okay, so similar to household and firms, governments also spend. Okay, alright, they spend, and this would end up as the equation over here for aggregate expenditure. Alright, so A equals to Y equals to C plus I plus G, where G stands for government expenditure. Okay, so when the government spends, is considered to be implementing some sort of a fiscal policy. Okay, so fiscal policies, can be either a change in government spending or a change in taxes. Why is a change in tax a fiscal policy? Because the government imposes a tax. So when the government changes a tax, it is considered a government initiative. So that is why a change in tax, whether it is lump sum or proportional tax, is a fiscal policy. And we can use fiscal policies for expansionary purposes. So when we want to expand the economy using fiscal policies, we call it an expansionary fiscal policy to increase growth. Alright, every economy has a goal of increasing growth. Alright, it can also be contractionary. Alright, now which means I want to decrease my output. Why would an economy want to decrease its output? Okay, it is because we want to fight things like inflation. Okay, inflation is not necessarily a good thing. Okay, so we'll be learning this in the later chapters. Okay, but there is such thing as a contractionary fiscal policy. Alright, okay, now, so what is G? G is basically G naught. So sometimes, most of the time, you can safely make the assumption that the government spends G naught is a fixed amount of expenditure. Alright, and let me introduce you to this thing called balanced budget policy. So what does it mean by balanced budget? My budget is balanced whenever I spend whatever I collect. So my revenue also equals to my expense. So at the end of the day, my net profit is 0. Okay, so that is when my government spending equals to my taxes. It makes sense, right? Because taxes is tax revenue that the government collects, and the government spends all of that, so G equals to T. Or in the case of a proportional tax, it will be G equals to small letter t times Y. Now, looking at all these C and I functions, does anything change in my equation whenever there is a balanced budget policy? No. But in a case where there's a balanced budget policy, my G changes. Instead of G naught, it's going to change to GT, where G equals to T. Alright, and this is the case for a proportional tax. Alright, and now if we are going to expand it out to the entire function, this is my C portion, this is consumption by households, this is investment spending, and this is government spending. Government spending is basically T. Okay, because a balanced budget policy, my government spending equals to my tax revenue. That, okay? And for a proportional tax, this is going to be the case. Okay? Now, just to let you know, when the government spends less than what they earn, that means my tax revenue is more than my government spending. Okay, the government is in a surplus. It is in a deficit if it's the other way around. Government spends more than what they earn. Okay, so you can't really apply this to these two equations over here. You can't. Okay, because how am I going to know what is the magnitude of the difference, right? But this will be used in the capital formation equation, which you will be learning in the next video. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Alright, so we learned that government spending can be either fixed amount. Okay, it can be a balanced budget policy, so it can depend on the amount of taxes collected. But can the government also spend depending on output? Yes. So what would the equation look like? The equation would look like this: G equals to G naught plus G1Y. Now, you can also safely make the assumption that there is no fixed spending by the government. You can actually assume that this is gone. But to make it more whole, I'm going to put G naught over there. So G1 is like our marginal propensity to consume. G1 is the marginal propensity to spend by the government with respect to income. Okay, it's like an MPC. Alright, so if let's say the government still wants to have a balanced budget, and the lump sum tax is in play, Okay, so in this balanced budget, so that means whatever happens here has to be funded by taxes. Okay, so if let's say the government is gonna determine their spending in relation to income, they will need to change the way that the taxes are imposed. Okay, it can still be lump sum, but every year is gonna change. It's gonna change depending on the income. Okay, so this, okay, instead of changing it to taxes, I'm gonna use this to affect my tax. Okay, now this is what's gonna happen. My C is gonna be this C0 plus C1, and my disposable income is here. So everybody's income put together, I need to minus away my government spending because it's a balanced budget policy. So initially the government will spend T, but now instead of T it's going to be this. So basically what I've done is that I've taken all the income less the government's entire spending, and that is the remainder will be the disposable income of households. So this is the reason why this equation is formed like that. Okay, I remains the same, G is this, so my total equation will be just these three put together. Now as you can see, when it comes to government spending, the question can be very, very unexpectable. You know, they can throw many scenarios at you, so you have to be flexible in your thinking. You know, state your assumptions and make sure you put down your interpretation of the question as well. Because once you put down the interpretation, okay, and you work according to your interpretations as well as your assumptions, okay, the examiner, okay, has to give you the benefit of a doubt that you actually know how the mechanism works. Is because, you know, sometimes I feel that in macro econs especially, instead of an economics test, it becomes an English test, because I'm like tested on how I interpret the question. It becomes like comprehension. Okay, so to me that's really a bunch of bullshit, but it's okay. By stating our interpretations down, that should cover us. Alright, now same thing for government spending. Okay, I think I went through something like this the last time in the previous video. So with government spending, okay, this A curve here is only for C and I, but if I were to add G, as you can see, this thing actually shifts up, right? Okay, so this is C plus I plus G. We have a higher equilibrium output. Okay, and similar to what I said last time, this curve can actually be steeper or flatter depending on the multiplier, which we will go through soon.